So sometime last week, the first step had been taken to hacking the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'll be honest, this just made me smile. Number one, because of all the anti-consumer efforts that Nintendo put into preventing something like this from happening, the threats of bricking the console if you sneeze the wrong way or do literally anything without their permission ever. And hilariously enough, this was probably the quickest that any video game console had been hacked, and it is important to mention that it's not a full hack, this situation, but it is the first step, and something else is going to happen in the future. But also, I just consider this an absolute W for the consumer, because it shows that the Nintendo Switch 2 actually has more value. By hacking the system and using custom software or your own emulators, you can get more out of the Nintendo Switch 2 in the long run. And literally no one is getting hurt by you doing so, because playing offline games on the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't affecting anyone but yourself. If Nintendo refuses to sell a certain game to you or bring back a certain game that you like, that's literally not going to be a problem because you can just emulate and bring it back yourself, and that is a good thing for the consumer. You've already given Nintendo money for the Switch 2. What you do with the Switch 2 should be none of Nintendo's concern because it literally is yours at that point. Well, that's how it should be anyways. But despite this amazing news, there were quite a few Nintendo fanboys that were very unhappy with the idea of you having freedom with a product that you already bought. So let's take a look at their responses, shall we? Reynaldo Jimenez tags Nintendo America and Nintendo, and the only thing I have to ask is why? Literally why? What do you gain from doing this, other than making yourself look like a corporate shill? People are going out of their way to hack the Nintendo Switch 2 and make it better for their own personal experience. What they are doing doesn't affect you in the slightest, and what they're doing as well doesn't affect Nintendo for that matter, so why are you being like this? Like, you're just making yourself look like a shill on the internet, it's really stupid. And if that wasn't pathetic enough, you then have Jonathan Switchy tagging the fucking FBI. I feel like the FBI have bigger problems than a video game console made by Japanese people being hacked. Like, you're either severely overestimating how important Nintendo is to the FBI, or you're severely underestimating the problems that the FBI deal with in a day-to-day life. Like, pick your poison. Dev the Gamer says, and now the Switch 2 is a brick. Good job. Actually, the Switch 2 isn't a brick, because in order for Nintendo to brick your console, you have to connect it to the internet. So just don't connect it to the internet. Problem solved. But also, I love this. You look at an example of consumers getting more out of the product that they pay for, and your response is to say that the console can be bricked. Why would you instead not criticize Nintendo for being able to brick the console in the first place? Chaining10 says, this doesn't do anything, by the way. It might run a SNES emulator, but that's it. So it does do something, question mark? It allows you to run a Super Nintendo Entertainment System emulator by your own logic. But also, this is the first step. You know, we can run SNES games now, but we might be able to run DS games, or Wii games, or GameCube games in like a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a few years. Like, it's the first step. Like, things are only gonna get better from here. Kaznius responds and says, this is the reason why consoles can be bricked, because of idiots like this. Sad as fuck. Okay, so consoles can be bricked because consumers have consumer rights? You're unironically justifying Nintendo being able to brick the console, all because people are going out of their way to get more out of the platform. Like, what they are doing does not hurt anyone. Now, if they were to use the hacking tools to go onto online lobbies and cheat, then yeah, that would be a problem and Nintendo should take action against that. However, if all they want to do is run custom software or run certain emulators in their spare time and play offline, genuinely, who is getting hurt by that? The answer is no one, and you look like a complete dumbass for defending the idea that consoles should be bricked. Scruffy City says, I don't know what this means, but I'm glad that people can play a different game in their 1" by 1" corner, I guess. My guy, they literally say it's the first step. Like, first steps are there for a reason. Like, you're not gonna get results right from the get-go, but the point of their tweet and the point of what Switch Tools was saying is that they have proven that it is possible to hack the Switch, and with enough time and patience, they will be able to achieve results with this hacking. Bolt Skills and Halo says entitlement syndrome. People feel their hatred of Nintendo justifies them stealing. Unlike the rest of us who lead responsible lives and pay for our own things, they feel they deserve to get things free because of some perceived justice. They do mental gymnastics to steal. Breaking this down bit by bit, you say entitlement syndrome in response to someone customizing a device that they already paid for. Like, yeah, this isn't entitlement, this is just consumer freedom, which is something that should be encouraged. But then you say, people feel their hatred of Nintendo justifies them stealing. What is being stolen in this situation? Like, Switch Tools bought the Nintendo Switch 2 and now they are hacking it. Like, they bought the system, they didn't steal anything. And if you're referring to emulation, well, emulation isn't theft, because in order to legally emulate, you have to already own a legitimate copy of the game. But also, if Nintendo refuses to sell you old games, then how the fuck is it stealing to pirate a copy of it? Nintendo isn't earning any money out of those games anymore, and the only copies being sold are in the second-hand market, which Nintendo doesn't earn a penny from. And again, if Nintendo refuses to bring these games back and refuses to make these games backwards compatible with their systems, then these games, these pieces of art, just disappear. Because they're not being preserved, which is why emulation is a good thing. And for all the shit that I talk about the Nintendo Switch 2, emulators on this device would be fucking awesome and make the device actually worthwhile. If Nintendo refuses to sell you a product, they quite literally are not losing any money, meaning that you are not affecting their business sales in the slightest, meaning that you should shut the fuck up and not care about this. Jerry Martin says, so much effort against Nintendo, why not direct efforts towards worse companies like McDonald's, or build your own consoles to do your dirty deeds on? It isn't about only protecting assets. A very large percentage of gamers desire an age where there is a 0% chance of ever seeing hackers and bots in our digital playgrounds, yet hackers persist to insist otherwise. Why is that? Well, the reason we don't redirect efforts towards worse companies like McDonald's is because McDonald's didn't make the Nintendo Switch 2. You melon. And in response to your second point, we do build our own consoles. They're called PCs, and they are better than consoles. So what's your point? But also, I think it's very naive and ignorant to say that all of this shit that Nintendo does, like all of the bullshit around them being able to brick your console, is so you can play games without hackers and cheaters. Like, hacking and cheating is an inevitability of online multiplayer games. Like, where there is a will, there is a way, and there's truly no way that you can get around that. And do you know what game developers do when that happens? Well, they do things like timing out your account or banning your account. They don't brick the entire fucking console that you play on. Like, hacking and cheating is an issue, but if you legitimately think that Nintendo being able to destroy your console effectively with the press of a button is a good thing, then I don't know what to tell you. One more, they're going to break the console anyway, XD. The pirates are already celebrating their victory, but they don't know that Nintendo detects a small modification and bricks it. First of all, once again, as long as it's not connected to the internet, Nintendo cannot brick the console. Like, you understand how this works, right? But also, once again, why are you saying this as if it's a good thing? Like, Nintendo being able to brick your console is a shit thing. Microsoft being able to brick an Xbox, or Sony with a PlayStation, like, that is a terrible thing, and you should not be celebrating that. And yeah, you bet your ass that quote-unquote pirates are celebrating their victory, because it's a victory against Nintendo, a company who routinely proves that they don't give a fuck about you as a consumer. And hacking the Nintendo Switch 2 in the way that Switch Tools is doing quite literally does not affect anyone, least of all Nintendo. They've already got your money. What you do with the console at that point is none of their fucking concern. I swear down, I'll never understand fanboys. Like, these big corporations that you shill for and damage control for, they don't know you exist. You're a number on a spreadsheet to them. Why are you bending over backwards and just presenting your asshole to them? But anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, consider subscribing and liking the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.